Hi guys, it's Ray with Ray's Turquoise Turtle. Today I am starting on another Be Kind Gold Peekaboo bee tumbler. So I'm going to get the glitter on, and I'm going to do this not on the turner because I do have a handle to contend with. So I'm going to apply a very small amount of epoxy to use as the adhesive for this one, and I'm going to use my hand to pretty aggressively thin it out on here. I'm using the same chunky mix that I used on the Ink Week one, and it's a pretty aggressive chunky mix, so it's a little more difficult to work with. So that's why I thought maybe working off the turner would work out a little bit better for me on this handled one. Handled tumblers are a little more difficult to begin with. So this is a Hog 20 ounce skinny with a handle from Stainless Steel Depot. This is one of the few I order from anybody else just because Maker Flow isn't making one yet. So I do order these from Stainless Steel Depot. If you're going to order from them, make sure you order from Stainless Steel Depot and not Hog directly. It's just a very large pricing difference. So be aware of that. Don't just go search Hog tumblers. You'll be disappointed in the price. So I have I'm actually going to let this sit for a couple minutes. I'm going to put it on my stand a minute and let it just sit for a couple minutes. I will be back to do the glitter. I'm going to just grab some kind of a mold quick and use up the rest of this resin because I don't have any other cups ready for anything right now. Okay, so here I am applying the Bees Bling Leather and Lace Chunky Mix and the Champagne Gold and Regular Gold Ultra Fines on top of that. Full disclosure, this is the second one of these tumblers I started because this tumbler is for one of my wonderful viewers, and of course promised she could see her tumbler being made. And I inadvertently somehow lost the first 3 steps of the process, so I started a second one. So I have another one of these sitting on a shelf that I will eventually get to finishing, but not yet. I need a break from it. I had to cut this part down and speed it up because this process takes quite a while, and this video is getting super duper long, so and you've seen me do this before. It's applying glitter. So because this particular glitter is so chunky, it has fines in it, but it doesn't have like an ultra fine, so it leaves some gaps. So that is why after I get done patting this down, I'm going to come back in with the ultra fine. I kind of hand place more on the handle because I don't really want the chunky on the sides of the handle, because it's actually fatter, the bigger pieces, than the edge of the handle itself. So I did try to be conscious of that and only get the fines on the edge. And I try and make sure there's no chunky pieces around the rim, the top, or the bottom, because these tumblers always require a fair amount of sanding no matter what you do. So here I am sprinkling some of the champagne over the top to fill in any white spots, and then going back in with the gold just to make sure I have good full coverage. The two colors blend in with the other colors so well that you would think they were part of the original glitter to begin with. So that's why I like to use those two. It was just AC Moore craft glitter, so it's unavailable anymore. What I have is what I have. But that's all I did here. I'm going to pat it down as best I can, and then I'm going to let it spin and cure, and I will be back for the next step in the next clip. Best I can, and then I'm going to let it... Okay, I am going to get a flood coat on this. I've got between 25 and 30 in this cup, which should be alright for the first flood coat on this. It's going to need a second clear coat before it gets anything else. And it will probably need a little sanding at that point. It's actually pretty smooth right now, surprisingly. But it's going to get another coat after this. I won't show you that one because it's just going to be the same thing over and over. After the second coat, I will decide if it needs sanding. If it does, and it most likely will, I will come in and show you how to do that, or at least part of the process. Sometimes when it's heavy sanding, it's just too much to record. But these are actually not too bad. I did a good job laying stuff down in the first place. Do make sure you get your handle. I'm kind of chasing the handle around the cup. But this coat's just going to kind of level itself in. If you see any chunkies really standing up while you're coating, you can try and lay them back down again. But that is it for this step. I will be back after it has a second coat on, and I will show you the next step then. Okay, so this one is ready to be sanded. It has some bumpy spots. It needs to be smooth enough to put the removable decals down. So I will show you how I sand, but I'm not going to do all of it on video because it's a lot and I would rather go outside and do this. And because it's raining, I don't have an outside spot where I can set up a camera. So I just have a piece of sandpaper wrapped in a block. I prefer to hand sand. And you just start sanding. And it is going to look terrible during the sanding process. That's it. You're just going to sand. And you can see where it's bumped. And that's what you're looking to avoid. So you kind of have some idea when you're sanding of where you need to be. So, but you can see where the sandpaper is taking the layer of resin off. I will make sure I get the sides of the handles. And do a good job on the rim. I will also, at this point, before I go any further with this cup, I will clean the inside of the cup and the rim. Just because I'm at a good stopping point to do that. I'll do it again at the end, but this is a good time to do it for the first time. So, I know it looks scary sanding. I know you think you're going to take your finish off your glitter. You're not, I promise you. I don't have any water in here. Some people are more comfortable wet sanding at their sink, but you can see that the glitter is not losing its color when I wipe that dust off. I'm not sanding into the glitter, just the surface. So there you go. I will go out and finish sanding this. I may put one more layer of resin on once I'm done sanding, and then I will be back to do the removable decals. Okay, so I am ready to get the decals on this, the removable decals. This decal is going to go on this side, so I'm going to work around the area where that will go. And the other different thing this one's getting is it's getting a name inset into this side. So I have a small piece of transfer tape ready, and I have all my decals cut in StarCraft temporary adhesive vinyl, because these are going to come back off, remember. So I'm going to put the name down first. I'm going to trim this down just so when I get back to that side, it is easier to work around where it's going to be. And I'm going to do my drips at the top. And I scaled everything down just slightly for this one because it is a smaller cup, obviously. But I am still going to drop my drips down slightly from the rim. I don't like them super tight to the top. This is a super fresh piece of tape, so it is very sticky. And this one's going to overlap just slightly onto the prior drip. Maybe. This is a different brand of removable than I normally use, so hopefully it'll work out good. I'm just going to let that sit there a second. I'm going to trim that to where it overlaps. So those are my drips. This is going to go in here. So I'm going to want to make sure I keep a space for that. And I'm just going to start randomly grabbing sections of honeycomb. And laying them on. I'm going to be very careful not to touch my transfer tape to my decal because I don't want to mess it up. And you can decide when you have enough And I do want to try and get one or two little ones on the handle. I don't want them to overlap the handle, but I thought it would be a little fun addition to the handle, since I have that extra space to work with. And I'm going to get a couple like underneath the handle. That one wasn't supposed to go there, but that's fine. I'm going to actually remove that one, since it's crooked anyways. Turn and keep going. So I'm going to do a little bit more. It should be fine to go this far over. It shouldn't affect my main decal. But I'm just going to double check. Nope, I'm still good. Okay. Get a little bit here and a little bit on the bottom. Okay, just going to put a couple at the bottom. I like to do the bottoms of my cups, so alright, I'm going to double check that, see if it looks good. That's the big space for the decal. I'm going to do a couple right in here. Alright, so next step, I'm going to take it out and spray paint the entire thing white and let that dry, and I will be back for the ink step. I'm going to put two more little ones up here now that I'm looking at it. Okay, so I will be back for the ink step when I get to that point. Okay, time to get some ink on this. I have Butterscotch, Peach Bellini, and Let's Resin Wheat. I went back to the last video and made sure I pulled the same inks. So I'm going to go ahead and use a makeup wedge to get these on. Sorry, I'm bouncing you around a lot. But I will probably go over this a couple times with the inks and let it layer and build. I'll make sure I get around the rim pretty good. The handle will be a little bit interesting to get the underside especially. I'm not going to show you this whole process, but I do want to show you that. Let me get underneath, up the sides. And the spray paint did, as usual, bring out every imperfection in the cup. There's a little divot there. There's a couple spots around the handle. They'll be fine by the time the cup is done. It's just right now they look a little ugly. So I will make sure I get in any of those little divots. And I will roll the cup around and really look at every bit of the handle. But I'm just going to continue until I have the cup covered, and I will be back when I am done with that. Okay, I'm just going to pull a couple of the decals for you because I don't want to mess them up, so I need to be able to get closer to them. But it's still easy to see where all the decals are. So you'll just go around and carefully remove them. Try not to scratch the cup. If you scratch a little bit, you can try to touch it up with some ink, but sometimes you make it worse. So this is very sticky at the moment, so I really would like to get this part done so I can get it sitting upright. That's the drip. I'm going to pull these off the handle. And I'm going to get all these done. I'm going to let it sit for 24 hours. And then I will be back to go on to the next step once they're all removed. Okay, so everything has been peeled. Most of the decals are on. I want to explain what I did with this in a minute. But first, I've got just a couple more little bees to add on. So I have just a little piece of transfer tape and my sheet of bees. My cup cradle is touching the tripod, so I'm jiggling you about. I'm sorry about that. And I think I just need one more down here, and that is it. So that is it for the main decal. She wanted a little touch of color in the flowers. So what I did was I sliced the bottom piece of the flower out and I cut it 4 times on matte white vinyl. And then I did 2 of those I inked over in greens, and 2 of them I inked over in the purple and the pink. She'd suggested yellow in the flowers as well, but the yellow was not going to show up at all against the background, so I had to eliminate the yellow after starting with the yellow. I didn't weed these. I decided it would actually be easier just to use my weeding tool, and it probably only took me about 10 minutes, but to pick up sections and just fill in onto the main decal. Then I transfer the decal all as one. So that's how I got the colored pieces down here at the bottom. They're like a light watercolor ink effect. I inked them just like I do this using a makeup wedge. So that's where this is at. I'm going to let this sit for a little bit, get my resin mixed up, and add that coat. Okay, time to get some resin on this, and I am going to add a little tiny bit of my favorite cheat glitter to this. I'm just going to give it a tiny bit. Just to give it a little something extra. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and get this on the cup. Just going to be careful going over that main decal. Go ahead and get the bottom. I'll make sure I get that little divot really well. And get over the handle and under it. I'll make sure I get the rim really well. I do a little spot there that's not covered. You can feel it when you don't have it. You'll drag on the layer below. If you can't visually see where you're not covered, you'll still know. I'm actually going to go ahead and turn the rotation so I can get this side a little bit better. Just going to go over it one more time and it should be good. So that is basically it. This will probably get one more coat done exactly the same as this coat. I don't really think I'm going to have anything I need to sand, so I'm not going to bring you along for that last coat because it's going to look identical. But this will get another coat tomorrow, and then it can sit and have its cure time and be on its way. So I'm going to get my gloves off, get this cup out of the way, and I will bring you down for a complete look at the cup. So here we go.